Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining this last panel before the break. My name is Andrea Fagiano. I'm partner and lead of the Telecom TMT practice for Art of the Little. We call it TIME. And I know most of you because I've been going around the region for a long time. Now, the topic of today is about cybersecurity, managing cybersecurity, which is a topic that is not emerging, it's booming. It's booming at the point that as a management consulting, I see many requests to put the cybersecurity officer directly in report to the CEO and not anymore as a technology in fact. So it's becoming a mandatory for regulation for businesses, probably for the integrity of the business. So today we have, in fact, a panel that is a combination of an association. We have a couple of operators. We have a DO and CES, and we have a supplier from the industry. So we know that we are more and more exposed. The pandemic makes us completely exposed. I have cloud cameras in my home. I've liked that nobody spying it. My keys are virtual. My phone is completely open as a mic. And so we need security. We need security, and as enterprise, as an individual. And also, as I was saying before, the regulation also is dictating the way we do business. Before in the previous panel, we were saying that the data sovereignty, which is a regulatory fact, okay, is imposing the way we do business in cloud, for example. So the first question that we want to address is about regulation. Because regulation is is very fast on the privacy and data regulation in general, but then there is a much more opaque regulation that only operators and suppliers know, that is about the cybersecurity regulation, and we want to know more about it. And if you don't mind, Jawad, as a GSMA representative, I think you have a very good understanding about how institution, public policy, regulation is moving on the topic. I want you to be the first to tell us what is going on. Also, UAE is issuing very recently new laws about the topic. So if you can tell us.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Tony, for organizing this and the Telecom Review team. Things are getting really hyper-connected, and it's intelligent connectivity. It's the combination of high-speed connectivity, 5G, artificial intelligence, big data, and so on. And it's a far cry from the age of desktop computing without the internet, where once you've locked your office, that's it, your computer is physically secure. Now everything is connected all the time sometimes. And now we also have seen a consolidation in the vendor landscape. And we've seen also geopolitics be involved in the vendor landscape. So what is the GSMA, as the Association of Mobile Operators, is doing? We have the Fraud and Security Group. It's a working group that encompasses all the operators in the world. And its main mission is to educate, to share threats, to share vulnerabilities so that networks can be addressed in that. And then also, because of the consolidating landscape of vendors, we have a program called NESAS, N-E-S-A-S, which focuses on making sure that there are common standards of ensuring that the network infrastructure meets certain conditions to make sure that it's safe and secure. The overall trend is that there is more digitization. 5G brings with it enhanced encryption and enhanced features. But, and of course, there are asymmetry of government regulations when it comes to security. For example, Europe has a lot more strict measures on handling consumer data. Other countries still don't have those. And that asymmetry increases the complexity. Overall, it's a very complex issue. Coordination and cooperation is important, and that's the role of associations like the GSMA to make sure that we share vulnerability information and work on that. I didn't really specifically answer your question, kept it high level, to hear the comments and then maybe
Jawad, from what I hear from you, you are saying that how can the telco react to changes is about standardize, sharing, and collaborate. This is the first.
And common approach to objectively measuring the infrastructure, its vulnerabilities, without involving geopolitics in it.
Because this is the point. This is the point. So how can we prevent regulation fragmentation that destroy technology practice and business practice across? But let's ask Walid what he thinks about the topic, because this is a very debated. I want to come back on this point, because fragmentation is the problem at the moment in the industry.
Okay, first of all, good afternoon, good evening, and salam alaikum to everyone. Basically, I will talk from the telco perspective, and as you know that for us in the telco, the most important asset is our customer. Data of the customer is the most important factor that we take secure precautions to protect our customers' data. How? We have several layers of protections. On every layer of our infrastructures, we make sure that data is not leaked. That's number one. User access management is important. Who should access customer data? Who should have a visibility of the transaction of the customer? This is number two. So number three, also as my colleague, he mentioned that preventing and defending from the vulnerabilities and attackers, okay? In that case, you have lateral movements. It might impact your organization, and then extractions of the data can happen. However, if we talk about in this region, especially in United Arab Emirates, alhamdulillah, that we have a directions and we have a data law that we provide us the principles how to protect our data. Regardless of these, we in a telco have taken several measures to protect our customer data, from the access, from protection, encryption, and tokenization. Now here it comes also the challenge if we need to share certain data for marketing. Okay? Business comes here and asks, and they would like to have certain data that they would like to do marketing campaign. However, very simple for us today, because we have all the mechanism providing them this type of data. It's tokenized, it's encrypted. So what they get is they cannot read the data. But the analytical tools, which they do the campaign based on the rules which they need. For example, if in certain area they want to launch a campaign to the, let's say, a national day, they can do it without knowing the data of the customers. So here it comes the beauty. It's very important also the process, people, technology, how you are implementing this in your organization. Matured security. It's not that there are lots of technologies available, but you need also the people who know how to implement these functions and these security measures across your network. Today, alhamdulillah, in our organization, because of the data, and by the way, all the security investment is happening for what? Customer data, privacy of the data. In banking environment, they have the customers. In telco, they have customers. In the education, they have customers. So we're just protecting data from the investment perspective.
Would you say that the telcos are even stricter on data protection that the regulation requires? Because at the point we could have achieved a paradoxical thing, because you are saying that as a telco we're taking this very seriously, extremely seriously, to the point that even we can say that the regulation is not a problem for us because we are ahead of regulation in that sense.
It's not like that. The principle of the regulations which we have, we are already compliant with it.
Exactly.
Yes.
This was
already we are compliant.
You're sort of ahead of it.
Because we have taken this precaution from the day one, you know. When we implemented the security, we know that the customer privacy is most important thing for us. And not only that, we are today, alhamdulillah, matured enough to enable the business in a secure way.
Yeah. Would your colleague in the business department say that you are too strict on data regulation?
No. See, this is a very important topic. The culture has been changed, and it depends on the CISO, how they go and enable them. So today, let me give you an example. Today, alhamdulillah, that we reach to all the level to educate the business in their language, not in our language. I will not go there in front of the business that I will say, I'm hackable, or I'm vulnerable, or there are IOXs, or no. You have to show them if this activity will not happen in our environment, your system will be not available, the customer complain, your brand value, in addition, you will lose revenues. So these are the methodology which we should use and talk to the business language, not our technical language. And we achieved, I mean, to the extent 100% I can say.
So for our question, I mean, the impact on data regulation on telcos regarding cybersecurity, your answer, short answer would be that we're taking so seriously since the very beginning, before this regulation was issued, that we are at easy with such regulation.
Because even if we take it 10 years past, we had the regulations, okay? But it was not, maybe I can say, black and white or clear. Today it's very clear. But from the day one, we have taken the precautions. So today we're not in that challenge mood, actually.
And what about the regulation prevent you to go to cloud and virtualize your network platform? And
okay, so actually that's a totally different subject, actually, and very interesting subject. And this is also on most of the business and most of the organization, they're going to the cloud, yeah? But again, according to the principles we have to make sure that if we are going to the cloud, these measures are implemented clearly, which we have. All the technologies and the process. If I need to go to the cloud, there are principles that I need to follow. For example, the data, first of all, your data center should be certified, end-to-end. You have to put even some of the mechanism that you can monitor that leakage of information or who's accessing the database from other end even, okay? You have to put also some of other monitoring tools within integrated with the partner's database. However, there are some law tells that your customer information, whatever it is, cannot go out of your country. And this is, I can say, a veto then. Nobody can talk. So country law is most important, and we have to adhere, no choice of it. So this is a veto.
So regulation is embedded now in your processes, shaped your processes, and changed your way. And I would like to ask to Imran now. No, is not Imran here? A colleague from CES? No? Okay, we will go to the next question then. This I was told that Nikolai and Ahmed was virtual, but I want to pass to Nikolai. In fact, the question. Okay. So I want to move from the operators that comply on regulation to the supplier that provide tools, system and software and procedure to cope with attacks, crisis, or prevention technique in case of a cybersecurity attack. Nikolai, you are, I cannot see you, so I see behind me. You are CTO in LPIG, and I would like to ask you, your LPIG is also active in UAE in the part of Etisalat ecosystem, as we know. So you may have a very good understanding about how technology, procedure, and offer and supply in this market have evolved. You want to tell us how the techniques has made offer in the market, in the sense how this is more the level of adequacy of these techniques for the current attacks that we're seeing in the market?
Yes, so since it's a telecom conference, and thank you very much for having me here tonight, I think it's relevant that we talk about how is telco infrastructure potentially utilized and what are some of the challenges you have in dealing with cybersecurity attacks in the environment. I also think that many consumers think that an internet connection is secure per definition, right? That's also one of the challenges of how do you deal with some of these attacks that's actually impacting the consumer of the network. There's a few things that's actually happening right now. And first of all is that, of course, there's an explosion of data, so we see much more data than we have seen before. So from the perspective of inspection, the amount of data that needs to be analyzed and reviewed is very, very big. The other thing that's also a challenge is that today most applications that's communicating on an infrastructure, whether that's consumers communicating to websites or whether it's applications communicating to other applications, today it's encrypted, and it's potentially also end-to-end encrypted, which means that from the perspective of analyzing the data, it's very challenging to go outside of that or get inside of the encrypted channel. Which means that the methods that we need to apply in order to identify cybersecurity attacks in a networked infrastructure is very different today than it was just a couple of years ago. And that's where technologies such as artificial intelligence and machine learning, as we've talked a lot about today, is actually helping us to make really, really smart cybersecurity decisions. So utilizing some of these subtle mechanisms to be able to, or subtle signals, and apply the right level of intelligence of those signals in the network traffic to identify threat activity. Could, for instance, be command and control traffic to ransomware networks, which of course will travel on the infrastructure of the service providers. And then the last thing I also want to highlight is integration of technology. So once we have the ability of identifying that malicious traffic or malicious signal, then being able to signal that to the enforcement points that we have inside of the infrastructure of the telco, whether that is the capability of being able to dropping a distributed denial of service attack inside of the telco environment, or potentially even signal to some of the other systems like DNS and other things to drop malicious communication. These are all capabilities that are extremely important to stay secure today.
Can I summarize by saying that you believe that there are many strong approaches and techniques today available and that can be used? And can you tell us what is the typical situation that you find in a client? How ready is a client when called AG, and what is the classical situation that you find?
So first of all, enterprise clients are, from a maturity perspective, extremely varied. You get some that are very, very mature, who's really thinking about cybersecurity as a key enabler to how do they do digital transformation, in the sense that if you do not get cybersecurity right as part of a digital transformation journey, you can potentially actually disrupt your business as you get more dependent on the IT systems if they're the subject of a cybersecurity attack. Yeah. And then you have some that are really not aware of the issues of some of these cybersecurity attacks, and unfortunately they are also then impacted sometimes. I believe that cybersecurity and staying secure is actually the responsibility of everyone. It's the responsibility of service providers. It's also very much the responsibility of the enterprise organizations, and it's definitely also the responsibility of the individual that's utilizing technology.
Yeah. Paco, so you are more on the sales side of the story.
Yes.
And so how we convince our inflow blocks and convince the client to adopt? So what is the situation, the dialogue with the client? What is their maturity, and what is the comfort that inflow blocks provide in providing products and solutions in this area?
So framing a little also the conversation, what we hear is that what we see in the market is with all the regulations and the privacy concern and awareness of the customers, and what Nikolai mentioned before, where we see the data plane being more and more encrypted. So normally the traditionally ways of how we look into cyber threats or security, it's encrypted anymore. So now we see a shift into using the signaling to looking for these threats. And this is where the DNS is becoming a great source of data to start getting on where the customers are going, what are they doing. So far, it's not encrypted, and we still do data mining. So we are getting is customers starting to be discovering all the data that they can get on the DNS and asking us to send all this information to data lakes to be processed and sent through AI to generate the threat intelligence either internally or also many companies are doing threat intelligence with that. Because at the end, it is not just also be able to detect, but also how you stop and remediate. And today also it changed that it is very important to provide context. So before, some years ago, you have one IOC, one indicator of compromise is associated with one attack. Now one attack can be associated with 20 different indicators of compromise. So you need to be able to gather all the different data from the different tools in order to identify which is the campaign that are using that are targeting you. So when we realize it with the customer, using this DNS as analyzing the signaling is more scalable and efficient. And normally that are able to reduce by 2 days the dwelling time to fix an issue. So and that is why people are discovering that I haven't forgotten tool that is the DNS, that if you look at any connection, or most of the connections that is happening in computers, start by a DNS query. So it's a fundamental piece that we have in our network, that people start realizing how much rich data they can extract to that. When you start applying some other tools to put it in context, to share with other security tools, to enrich them and provide them more context so they can do better their job. So normally on pages, you already have a DNS, but you don't make it any more intelligent and feed your other security tools with some additional context so they can take a more educated decisions about, do I need to stop this or do I need to leave it go?
And how receptive are the clients? How mature are they to buy this solution?
Normally, they need to see to believe. You need to see it, believe it. So that is our job also to show them. We have some tools into let us see what's happening in your network. What are all those things that are going through a DNS that you don't know?
Yeah, because you say correctly, we need not only to detect, but we need also to stop. And the environment has become so complex that we need a context analysis to take any decision about any kind of situation. Sherbil, what is your view on this?
All our colleagues okay. So all our colleagues were looking at the extreme end of the solution, where they go to install equipment, to look at all the things at the extreme end. What we do at SpiceTech, actually, we look at the very low end, at the beginning, because actually cybersecurity threats, the first major problem is the human by himself, the user in the company, when he's receiving an email, when he's sending an email. So we start by building from the beginning. We go from the lowest end, which is the easiest way to make them being convinced, as you were saying, they are not convinced. So we do work with data a lot, and that's why we look at the data at the lowest end, and we try to be proactive. All the solutions that colleagues were mentioning are all of them active. It's good, but we have to be proactive in cybersecurity. We have to really consider that this might be an attack in the future, so to be able to prevent it. And that's why I believe he was mentioning the issue of looking at everything that's around, just to make sure that you are really protecting, so not you will have an attack in the future, maybe in the coming days or weeks. So that's what we believe in. So really, yes, it is fragmented. This is a problem. The maturity of the people in cybersecurity is very low, of the companies. Really, really low, because they don't see the importance, even if it's really encrypted. It's not a solution by itself, because you could have a middleman, and even if it's encrypted, it's really breachable. So we really think at the beginning, not at the end. The end is already here. We have to look at the front, at the beginning of the user. That's what we see things.
And this is the conversation between the industry and the user. Jawad, do you have a conversation with the institution and government? There is a way to approach this from an institutional government point of view? And what is the dialogue and what are the recommendations in this sense?
Absolutely. Actually, I want to answer your question by the point of operators not being allowed to move customer data outside the country. This is the case in most jurisdictions. But we're all in this room here. We probably use Amazon, Netflix, Google, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. All of our data crosses the border. So we have such a massive asymmetry where the users, 90% or more of the mobile phone users who use smartphones, the OTTs freely move their data across borders in clouds outside the country. But when it comes to data specific...
Less stricter than the telecom sector.
No restrictions whatsoever versus full restrictions. The solution is a middle ground where consumers know how their data is used, have the ability and control of how their data is used, their data is secure, and then stratification of data. So that, for example, data related to national IDs, banking, finance has to remain in the country. But data related, for example, to an IoT system where in charge of irrigating your garden, so what if it moves across borders?
You have something against my garden? It's very important to me.
So this is the position of the industry. We need to make it symmetrical across, regardless of who uses the data. We cannot continue with this massive asymmetry of full restrictions on mobile operators, no restrictions on OTTs. We need a middle ground that unleashes innovation and make it, especially on cloud-based services and so on. For the example we always like to give is that we have major regional operators with many subsidiaries across borders. It doesn't make sense for them to have a cloud-based, to have a data center in every country where they want to offer cloud-based solutions.
So the message is less asymmetry, dear government.
Absolutely, harmonization, but with the very important aspect. We do not want the free-for-all that is the Facebook example, or we do not want the other extreme. We want the users to know how their data is used, have full control over it, and permissions to be at the user's control, not the other way around.
Walid, keep it all the second because before...
I'm very excited on this talk because I want to jump and answer.
I know, Walid. Hold on a second. I want to give a word to Ahmed because Benia system is a cross between a telecom operator and system provider. I want to hear, I hope you are with us, Ahmed.
Yes, I'm with you.
Ahmed, before I give the word to Walid, because as an impelling thing to share with us, I want to ask you, so crossing Benia and coming from your perspective, being close to the telecom operator and close to the enterprise and providing solution, how do you see the story of providing a more secure future to society and short-term benefit to enterprise? This enterprise, we understand, some understand the threat, some others don't fully understand the threat. So what is your experience and what Benia Systems is doing in this respect?
First of all, I'd like to thank you all. It's my pleasure to be with you today. What I'm seeing as a challenge facing the cybersecurity market here in our region is the technology. We have a challenge in technology for detecting the threats. So adopting such technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence into our security controls is one of the key solutions to reduce the mean time to detect and the mean time to response against any threats. The other key challenge, and I think it's need to be adopted by our side as an integrators or solution providers or by the telco side, is adopt the weakest point or the weakest ring in the chain is the human person, either from the operation or analyst side. We need to have the sufficient skilled persons to be able to detect and analyze the massive amount of data that have been received from different security control, and also adopting a security awareness programs to the end users, because as my colleague here has mentioned, is the human is the weakest point into the security chain. So adopting security awareness programs by different approaches is one of the most important to raise the security awareness across the users and also the operation or the analyst as well.
Thank you, Ahmed. So this is this angle of the human factor in cybersecurity is interesting because it goes beyond technology. Did you have any experience in passing this message and transforming this message in program activity with institution and government?
This message we talking with our clients, either in the enterprise level and the government level. We are depending on some technology-based solutions that providing this kind of security awareness, some vendors have their own videos or education materials, or by providing some sort of phishing campaigns. So we introduce this kind of solutions to our customers, either in government or enterprise, to be used as a tools by their security information officers to raise their employees' security awareness, or they can provide it for their clients. And we are doing our due diligence with the IT teams to raise their security awareness, either providing the new technology, the new threats, what is happening around the world regarding the new security attacks, especially with the threat landscape that have been changed based on the technology landscape that we see today.
Thank you, Ahmed. And now, Walid. So, let's come back to the message to the institution and government. I think you were...
Actually, what my colleague Charbel said, I was very impressed. And of course, the discussion here, I would like to just consolidate and give you the feedback. Now, here, the most important factor is for the threat is as my colleague said, we ourselves, okay? We get compromised and hacked by social engineering. Now, as you said that today, most of us, you are using LinkedIn, Facebook, Snapchat, and we are putting our footprints in a cloud, and everybody's looking at you, where you are going, which restaurant you are, which car you are using, and we ourselves exposing ourselves to that. Okay. Now, of course, here, none of the organization, nor telco, not our partners who's providing, you can stop anybody to put his posts on the cloud, and it is publicly available. However, does this mean that we have to also open our, as I mentioned, that the data of the customer to go on the cloud? No, because most sensitive thing is like our customers' documents, contracts, which are all secured, kept. However, today we are a threat to ourselves and to our organization by keeping our footprints, and this is as per Ahmed, he said that how awareness is important. We conduct this awareness to our employee on maybe weekly basis, that make sure that you don't put on the social media your footprints, because if somebody wants to target me as a Walid or as a you, very simple. I will follow you, I will see your footprints, where are you going in morning, evening, which organization, which car? I can target you very easily. Even I can send you.
Can be transformed in a policy, this recommendation. Can the government institution do something in this respect?
Well, again, I don't have any comments on that perspective because every country, maybe they have their own law, but according to my understanding, there is no any law preventing today your personal information. You can post anywhere you want, and any country has got, I'm not sure of it, but we cannot prevent. But when the target attack will happen to you, that I can send you an email to your email that, hi, I saw yesterday here, this is the attachment, and once you click on that attachment, you're done, finished. Especially...
you become a trusted source.
Exactly. Once I send you that email, I will compromise your host. And very important thing is that also that we, from the telco perspective, we provide secure hub pipe to your end. And from there, your responsibility. If your network is compromised, your laptop is compromised, unless we provide that service to the enterprise customer.
I have only the last question before we close. The most pressing short-term issue that we have to face, short-term. Anybody of you that wants to answer, or Nikolai, Ahmed, that are in virtual? Sharbil.
So the most short-term issue that we have to tackle is to really consolidate all the laws because they are really fragmented. And once we consolidate all this, we can tackle really issues from the lowest end by helping the user so that he will not be really threatening himself. We should also make sure how to use the data. So data is a goldmine. It's good to use it. And me as a customer, I'm interested to know, or I'm interested to be assisted by, let's say, the operator in providing me what is the best in my case as a bundle. So it's good to extract, without knowing names, but to extract the portfolio. So profiling someone, or let's say a group, is extremely important. And this is helpful for customer, helpful for the operators, and for all the companies all around the globe. So that's what I think is excellent to do. It will help everybody. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Thank you so much. I think we ran out of time, if I have a confirmation. So yes, we consumed, but because the topic is so interesting that I wanted to keep you more on the topic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Nikolai. Thank you, Ahmed, for joining virtually. Thank you, Jawad, Waled, Sharbil, and Paco for being with us. And thank you to Telecom Review and Tony for this interesting panel. Thank you.
Thank you.